2022 CFER Foundation Conference. This is the first of what I hope will be an annual event. The first thing I want to do is thank you. Thank you for being here. It's Saturday, for goodness sake. We're in San Diego. You know, you could have gone to the beach today, or worked in your garden, or maybe not on a day like this. But you could even have slept late. But you're here. Here we are. And I think we all know why. It's because this is what citizens do. And by that I mean conscientious citizens, not the kind that figure that somebody else will take on the work. The other kind, the kind who understands the American experiment will fail unless we all take responsibility for ensuring its success. And that means taking the time to get informed about the issues. For some, that's going to mean doing things like keeping track of what their children are being taught in school, being willing to show up at school board meetings and parent-teacher meetings, and not only asking questions, but making sure that they get answers to those questions. The country needs citizens who are willing to take on those responsibilities, and not just the number in this room. We need millions of people like you, active, not passive citizens. Right now, I'm wishing I could clone you all 20 times over. We need citizens who are willing to speak to their city council members, call their state legislators, write to their congressmen in Washington, read up on the issues and cast informed votes. But most of all, we need citizens who will stand up for the nation's fundamental principles. Publicly, of course, just like I've described, and in so many other ways as well. But just as important, and maybe more important, also privately. By privately, I mean teach your children, teach your grandchildren, talk to them over the dinner table, teach them about the importance of limited government, free enterprise, free expression, and equal opportunity. Teach them about the rule of law. Teach them about the Constitution. And teach them that judging people by their race is wrong. Increasingly, that is not being taught in our schools. You probably all heard the story about a certain Mrs. Powell who famously asked Benjamin Franklin what kind of government the delegates to the Constitutional Convention had put together. "Well, doctor," she said, "what have we got? A republic or a monarchy?" Franklin responded, "A republic, if you can keep it." And ladies and gentlemen, Franklin was right, we all know. If we as citizens fail to stand up for the fundamental principles of our nation, we're not going to be able to keep it. I like to think of our republic like a handful of little gold nuggets, each one representing a different aspect of our freedom and of our common heritage as Americans. You got to clutch it tightly, lest those little nuggets slip away, slip through our fingers. Carefully, carefully, it must be passed off to the next generation. Try not to let any of it drop. Right now, the country seems to be going through one of its crazy periods again. That happens from time to time in any country. I know it feels like a hall of mirrors sometimes. It's dizzying. People are saying that race discrimination is fine and dandy so long as it benefits the right races. They're saying that everyday virtues like hard work and punctuality are examples of white supremacy, for goodness sake. They're saying that people who say we shouldn't discriminate on the basis of race, they're the racists. And the ones who think that we should discriminate on the basis of race, they're the non-racists. That's enough to put anybody off kilter. They're even saying we should empty out the prisons and defund the police, but that we shouldn't worry. Crime won't go up, even though, as we're seeing, it does. but no wonder it's hard to keep your balance these days. Here's my advice for what it's worth. The right thing to do is walk straight. Try not to feel dizzy. Keep your eyes on the nation's fundamental principles. And by the way, hold on to those gold nuggets. Hold on. I think the worst of this is going to pass. In fact, I think it's already passed somewhat. If we resolve to speak up more, you may be surprised how many people are going to be on our side. And you may be surprised at how much of those, how many of those gold nuggets we're going to be able to pass on to the next generation. This time 2 years ago, think back to 2020, many of us in this room were in the middle of the campaign opposing Proposition 16. Prop 16 was all about deleting the following words from the California Constitution. The state shall not discriminate against or grant preferential treatment to any individual or group on the basis of race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin in the operation of public employment, public education, or public contracting. Those words have been put there by Proposition 209 back in 1996. And I believe that they reflect one of the country's core values, equal treatment under the law. I had co-chaired the Proposition 209 campaign 25 years before, so you can understand why I was willing to co-chair the No on 16 campaign to prevent its repeal in 2020. Everyone told us we didn't have a chance. The only question was just how badly we would lose. And because it was so obvious that we would lose, many otherwise sympathetic potential donors were unwilling to give us a nickel. Why waste your money? Why risk being canceled? And as a result, our opponents had something like 16 times more money than we had. Yeah, you heard that right, 16 times. But, miracle of miracles, it turned out that money didn't matter as much as we thought. They had the big money. We had the fundamental American principles of equality before the law. We had the No on 16 volunteers, relentless about getting the word out in any way that we could. Yes, they had the money. They had the mainstream media, but ultimately we had the voters. We defeated the repeal effort. It wasn't close. Even in deep blue California, voters opposed preferential treatment based on race or sex. And I know for some of you it is discouraging to look at the news and find so many colleges and universities blatantly discriminating on the basis of race and ethnicity and feeling proud of it. So many major corporations are adopting programs that benefit only certain races and not all Americans. Just this past week, we learned that Bank of America has announced a special deal for first-time homebuyers in Black and Hispanic neighborhoods, but not in Asian or white neighborhoods. 0 money down, 0 closing costs. Earlier this week, it was Pfizer with their own program that was available only to people of certain races. Before that, it was Starbucks, Lowe's, and Coca-Cola with even more blatant race preferences. They are all woke these days. They all believe that our anti-discrimination laws don't apply to them and that they can violate them with impunity. But the defeat of Proposition 209 proves that America's fundamental values are still alive. We just have to have faith in our fellow citizens. That is, and work like the Dickens to make sure that they are informed, because it won't make any difference that they share our values if they don't know and understand what's going on. So, by golly, I'm not saying we're going to win every battle the way we won Prop 16. I can't even tell you that we are going to win the war. That's because the struggle for a free society is never won. Every generation has to take up the cause. We have to play the long game. But there's some good news here. I can tell you that the CFER Foundation, which is made up almost entirely by people who worked on the campaign to defeat Proposition 16, has racked up a number of victories since then. Only a week or so ago, the California legislature was hoping to pass a law that would set racial quotas on the membership of state boards and commissions. That is a clear violation of Proposition 209 and its prohibition on race and ethnicity discrimination in public employment. And in large part through CFER's leadership, especially our president, Frank Hsu, and our executive director, Wenwan Wu, I should say Dr. Wenwan Wu, the California legislature has backed off. We won. Kudos to Frank and Wenwan. Let's give them a hand. We have also had a victory in litigation, thanks to CFER and its lawyers. Your kids will not have to recite an Aztec prayer in class. Right? That's a good one. Through meticulous research, the filing of official complaints, spreading the word through newsletters, op-eds, reports, and just the right amount of lobbying and litigation, CFER is indeed making headway. Yes, we have friends, and we depend on some of our friends. Some of them are lawyers, like Gwen Fa at the Pacific Legal Foundation, and Dan Moranoff with the American Civil Rights Project. Some are education experts, like Lance Azumi from the Pacific Research Institute, and former Assistant Secretary of Education, Bill Evers from the Independence Institute. I don't know about you, but I am looking forward to hearing from them and from all of our distinguished speakers. But before we do, I also want to thank our special friends who have made our conference possible through their generous contributions. There are 8 of them, so please hold your applause until I get to the end of the list here. Our very generous supporting sponsors are the Silicon Valley Chinese Association Foundation, the California Policy Center, the Southern California Asian American Parent-Teacher Organization, the U.S. Asian Art and Culture Association. Our very, very generous supporting sponsors are Ms. Laura Nelson, the San Diego Asian Americans for Equality, and the TOC Foundation, and our very, 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 very generous presenting sponsor is Ivy Max. Please join me in thanking all. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's roll.